Howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame their growth challenges with creative growth hacks, and connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter. I'm a founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, I got a little story for you. Claudio Vilas is a business broker with Sunbelt Network, and he helps roofing company owners get their business ready to sell. In this episode, Claudio shares some great advice on how to prepare your roofing company to sell it and even when to sell it. So be sure to listen up as Claudio shares some awesome growth hacks. Well, roofers, we have a special episode here for Roofer Growth Hacks. I'm super excited to have Claudio with us. Thank you so much for coming on here, Claudio.
Well, thank you, Chris. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing me here to your podcast. We had several conversations. We have very many things in common, and I really enjoyed our conversation. So I think this is going to be really good because we're going to actually tape what we've been talking about before. So I am a entrepreneur at heart. I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my career when I was 18 years old. Between my 18 and 26, I had a business that was an English teaching institute in Argentina called The American Way. And I started that business because I needed money to study. So I went to college and paid for it by teaching people how to speak English. But then I sold out to corporate America. And, I'm sorry to say, I was hired by Johnson & Johnson. And for the next 20 some years of my life, I was a corporate employee. But then when I turned 50, I decided that it was enough. It's time to go back to my roots. And what I thought would be the best thing I actually could do is share the learnings that I had from that corporate journey, which was really, really good. And I learned a lot. And I think I had, learnings that most entrepreneurs never have the chance to, because, working with a large corporation, they do train you and give you enormous amount of information and training and opportunity. So I wanted to share that, but I didn't know how to. But eventually I found out that being a business broker, which is what I am now, is the best way I can give back and help entrepreneurs, because I help them retire if they want to, or I help them obtain more financing or investors for their companies. And, to me, that's just something amazing.
Awesome. Well, since you're kind of in the thick of it and you have the knowledge and you're helping roofers and roofing companies, grow, and this is Roofer Growth Hacks, right? What are some of the things that you see that are common with roofers that they should be doing, but they're not?
Okay, great question, because I've seen your podcast and I've heard many of them. And I think there's something that, I can bring that is not there. It hasn't been talked about, and it has to do with understanding that the business, no matter how much you sell, no matter how well you do your production, if you don't keep the right records of your business, it's going to be so hard to sell it. And that's the number one issue I find every time I try to sell a business. It takes me months to just get those books aligned. So I would say if you really want to have a business that is sellable, and not only sellable, that you actually understand the business, because there's a lot of information in the finance that will allow you to understand what the health of your business is. So many people talk about sales, which is important, marketing, which is very important, and production, HR, but most business owners forget that all of that has to be adequately taken care of and keep the right records. Because if you do, there's two things that are going to happen. First of all, when you want to sell it, it's going to be a lot easier and it's going to be more value. But second of all, you will understand your business much better, and it's going to allow you to make better decisions. So that's the number one thing that I can say that I don't think, it's been focused enough. So just bringing that.
Interesting. And just for clarity, what type of, you said roofing companies, but what size roofing companies typically come to you, like they're looking to retire or to grow their business enough to sell it? What level are they at typically?
Anything from $1 million in revenues to the largest one was 70 million in revenue. So wow. You have a very large spectrum there. What I would say is that I divide companies in not so much on the revenue side, but more on the EBITDA side. And any company that's below $1 million in EBITDA should strive to get to that $1 million. But if you are on that $1 million EBITDA, you really need to focus on selling the company. And the reason why I'm always saying that is because most of your wealth is tied to your results of your company. And should anything happen to the company, we had tons of issues in the past. 9/11, we had COVID, and the different crashes and different cycles. All of that will affect your most important source of wealth, which is actually the earnings of your company. So if you are at that million point, you should seriously think of selling. There's a lot of private equities that are looking for roofing companies, and they will pay premium for a company that is at that point. So you don't need to actually think of leaving. You can sell part of it or reinvest in the new company, but just keeping all your money in one basket, it's not the best idea.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go back to the, where you said the keep better records. What does that mean? What kind of better records are we talking about? Are we talking about QuickBooks and stuff like that? But what exactly is that?
We're talking about QuickBooks. We're talking about a clear accounting where you actually know what's going on. Many entrepreneurs, merge their personal expenses with the company's expenses, or they don't keep track on the cost of their jobs. They don't keep track of, sales per employee or sales per salesman, and several what's called KPIs that you need to keep under your watch. And many people just don't do it. And when the time comes to sell the company, those are the questions that a buyer is going to ask you. So, what's your cost per job? What's your concentration of suppliers, or what's your concentration of clients? What's your, sales per employee? Things that are really basic, but people just don't take that into account, or not understanding where the costs are. That's another one that's very big. When you look at 2 or 3 years of P&Ls and the accounts are just not matching one with each other. So, all of that, it's simple, actually, to actually do it well. Most people just don't pay attention to it, or have bookkeepers that are not paying that much attention, because what they want to do is just pay less taxes. And we all want to do that. But that's not the only reason why you want to keep good records of your business. If you understand how to read a balance sheet, for example, it can tell you what your working capital is. So if you know what your working capital is, you can minimize that working capital, which actually will mean that you'll make more money. If you understand ratios like ROI and EBITDA, or EBITDA over sales, or there's tons of interesting ratios that you can look at and give you a much better idea of the health of your business. Funny, because sometimes I talk with business owners all the time, of course, and we talk about the marketing and sales, and I'm selling this, and my question is always, okay, how much money are you making? And then you get a blank stare. It's like, yeah, I think I'm making. Well, your business has to make money, and that's the number one question that you should ask yourself. All the rest is great, but all the rest is just so you can make money. So you need to know on a monthly basis how much money you make. That's the other thing. Sometimes I get, but sometimes not, most of the time, I would say, I get a business and I said, okay, well, send me the last P&L. And, we're in March, April. Well, I haven't really finished my 2023 yet. So if you haven't finished your 2023, you have no idea how your business is going. And if somebody's going to buy it, they want to know, right? And if you don't know, it's not only that they can't buy it, but they are also going to wonder how good a business it is and how well are you managing it.
Interesting. So, when you talk with these roofing company owners, right, it sounds like you talk more, EBITDA and numbers and P&L and balance sheets. It sounds like it's very, very important, obviously, to know these things as a business owner. Should that be their focus versus sales or marketing? Or do they just hire out a bookkeeper or a controller, whoever, in order to get all of those things for them?
Well, a business owner really has a lot of plates in the air. Every little thing is actually important. I can't say that one is more important than the other. Yeah. What I'm saying is that one is being neglected, which is that part. And it needs to be brought up into the priorities. I'm not saying that it's more important than sales or marketing. Actually, it's not. The number one thing that you need to do in a business is actually to sell, right? So sales is what brings money into the business. Then you will spend the money and then you will keep some money. So sales is extremely important. Production is very important, but understanding how all of these elements work in your company is very important. And one thing that I don't want to forget that it's actually in my view even more important than anything else is the people, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I love about my job is every time I have a business owner that's selling the company, 9 out of 10 times they will say, okay, I'm going to sell the company, but how do we take care of my people? How do we make sure that the people that helped me in my journey for 20 years are taken care of? And that's, at the end of the day, a company is a group of people that, get together to do something, which is basically provide a service, whether it's roofing or is selling widgets, it's the same thing. It's a group of people that work together. They want to make money, but they also want to serve the society by providing something good. So did I answer the question or did I?
No, absolutely. No, that's great. All right. I was talking with a roofer the other day, and he said that he wants to set up his business to sell in the next 5 to 7 years. And he doesn't have a current marketing system right now, right? So we're starting to work on that marketing system for him in order to, create the sales and so forth, right? But what would you tell this person, beyond ensuring that their books are correct, that all of these things, what would be the guidelines that you would, the guardrails that you would give this roofer?
Okay. The first, what I would say is you have to be ready to sell today, not in 5 years.
Okay.
The reason for that is you never know when you're going to sell. Most businesses are sold without the owner having actually planned for it. The most reasons for selling are death, disease, divorce. So those are the D's, there's actually 5 D's of selling a business. Distress, okay? And none of them are really good reasons for selling the business, but unfortunately, that's what happens. So you really have to be ready to sell today. Of course, it takes time and effort to have it ready to sell. If you have a business ready to sell, it means that you have a business that's well managed. So priority number 1 is making sure that you have all your KPIs, and every time you make a decision, you know why you're making that decision. It's not the latest widget. It's not, the latest fad. It's actually having a plan. So a business ready for sale has to have a plan. And depending on the business, it's going to be different. Some people are going to do priorities on one thing, some others priorities on the other. But the important thing is that those priorities are reasonable and make sense to your business. Some people focus a lot more in sales than in production. Some people focus more in production, and they by having good production, then they will obtain the sales. But it's not a one size fits all. Like every business is unique. But the important thing is, to have a plan, to follow that plan, and to measure that plan.
How many of the roofing companies that you talk with are on EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System?
That's a good question. I've seen a few of them, and I think it's a really good system. I know people that implement that system very well, and not only in roofing companies, but in small businesses. So I'm not sure what the percentage would be, but I can tell you that it's not enough, because many people should, have a system, and EOS is one very good system.
Love that. How about Profit First? How key would be being on the Profit First system?
That's another really good system. And Profit First actually it's something to just make sense, right? Yeah. Why do you have a business? You don't have a business to work. You have a business to make money. And Profit First is a really good way to actually look at the business the way a buyer would look at it, right? So think about who the buyer of your business is going to be. Somebody is going to come in and have some money. Whether it's a private equity, whether it's a family offices, or somebody that wants to start a business. Why do you do it? Why do you have a business? Just to make money. So starting from the bottom up is actually the way a buyer looks at it. And that's the way Profit First looks at the business. And it makes all the sense in the world. But unfortunately, like I said before, that's, not that many people are using this system, and they absolutely should. They should read the book and they should implement it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% on that and EOS. Both of those
Hmm.
combined, I would imagine would make a very sellable company, if you're fully implementing EOS. And Profit First is very simple to get on. It's not difficult. It's just simply setting up a few other, bank accounts and being into the rhythm of, changing out, from one account to another account, which I think most of y'all already do that anyways, right? So anyways, okay, so that's cool. I was wondering, I'm a book geek. I'd love, I love books. Obviously, I wrote my own book, but entrepreneurial operating system, I've been on that since, 2017. And that has been a life changer, honestly, for me and everybody I talk with that is on that system. So if you don't know what it is, go get a grip. Listen to that as an audible. That's what I recommend to everybody. So beyond what we've talked about, what are some other mistakes that roofing companies make when you come to them that you're like, this is an obvious thing. Why didn't you do this? Let's get this set up right now.
The big mistake most business owners, not only roofing companies, is to believe that they should be the business. And you should not be the business. You should be the leader of the business. I had a dinner last night with a seller and the buyers. A great dinner. And what the seller kept saying is, this is my company, but it's not me that's actually managing it. I get the credit for it because I'm the owner, I'm the leader, but it's my people who run the company. And that's the best thing you want to hear. And you don't hear that very often. Most people think that they should be the business, they should keep the relationship with everybody, they should make all decisions. And the problem when that happens is you really don't have a business. You have a job, no matter how much money you're making. You can make $1 million, $2 million, but you're still having a job, not a business. A business actually should be running by itself, and you should be the leader, the visionary, the one that brings the big ideas. And then you need to have a good middle management that's actually going to implement those ideas. If you don't get to that point, it's really, really, unfortunately, not a business. So I think, and it happens, like I said, at every level. It's not just because you're a small business. Larger corporations or business, and corporations know because they already have partners and all that. But in larger businesses, that's the number one issue that I see. And then you get sick, you get stressed out, you don't have time with your family, you don't have time for your kids, and then you look back 20 years later and say, well, what have I done with my life, right? So that's number one, and that means that you need to learn how to delegate and to learn to let people make mistakes. The greatest thing you can do in a business is just hire people, help them make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, bring them here, say, hey, we made a mistake, what happened, what have we learned, let's move on to the next one. If you can get that, you have a sustainable business.
Absolutely. And to add on to that, I've got a friend / mentor of mine that tells me, when she's looking at mistakes specifically, right? She focuses on processes. Is it a process issue or is it a person issue? Right? Most of the times, 80-90% of the times, it's a process issue, meaning that you don't have the correct process down, you don't have things documented, you don't have, a good checklist for that person, or the checklist hasn't been updated in years and they're going off on their own. And that person probably hasn't been trained, right? So anyways, that's one of the things. It's either a process issue or a people issue.
If I may add a little bit about that, sometimes we keep people in positions because we like them, because, we have a good relationship with them, because you're, sorry, he worked with me all this time. But the truth is, sometimes because you're helping that person, you're not helping the group. Mm-hmm. And you got to think of that as well, right? So what is better for the organization? And you're actually going to help the greater good if, even if you have a good relationship with that person, you let him go or you change the position or whatever. And you're giving him an opportunity to be better in something else. So, emotions are important in business, but you have to keep them in check and make sure that you make rational decisions.
Love it. Love it. So looking forward, what are some industry trends, that you're seeing that are kind of on the forefront of everything that you're seeing within the roofing companies themselves, that you are helping and or helping them sell their business. What are some trends that are happening right now to look forward to?
Well, I think the biggest trend right now is a consolidation of the whole industry. This is happening. It's happening every day. There's a lot of money coming into the industry. There's many private equities, many investors that are very interested in it. The reason for that is because it is a fragmented industry, and fragmented industries are great for investors to consolidate and to, eventually make more money. So that's the number one thing. And if you have a business, like I said, that you're making a little bit more over $1 million in EBITDA, you seriously need to consider what you're doing, because you're going to be fighting with very big boys in the very near future. People are buying, I've seen more than 50 companies bought by not private equity, it's actually one investor, but, that's happening. That's happening. And it's going to come to your door, next door, and you got to be ready for that. So, that's one thing that I see. I see that people are getting more educated in a lot of different technological advances, but I see many still, working like in the 1980s or 1990s. So if you're there, if you're keeping everything, old school is good in some senses, but not in everything, right? There's a lot of changes from a technological aspect in the industry, and again, if you have the money to buy them or to be in the forefront, you're going to have an advantage. So, and if you don't, you got to really think what you're going to be doing.
Has there been anything that's really stuck out to you on the technology side? Because I am a geek, right? Is there anything that's really stuck out to you, with a business that you said, wow, that's pretty cool that you did that?
I'm a little scared of AI. And the reason why I'm scared of AI, not so much because I think it's going to replace anything, it's because it's going to make us not think anymore. Like, remember when just a few years ago, when you had to go to a place and they gave you the address and you just got there. Now you can't get there without a GPS. And, you go around the corner and you put the GPS. Well, the same thing is happening a little bit with Chat GPT, for example. You could write something, and rather than writing it, you put it on Chat GPT that has better words and all that, but you're not thinking. And that is, to me, a big, big problem for the future.
Awesome. Well, Claudio, I really appreciate all of this. Has been super knowledgeable. We could probably go on for another half an hour, I think, but we're trying to keep this a little bit shorter. We're going to take a pause here, right in between here and the lightning round for a message from our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Okay, and we're back for the lightning round. We have one rule and one rule only for the lightning round. And basically, you have 1 minute or less to answer each of these questions. You ready, Claudio?
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Awesome. All right. Question number one. What is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, podcast, whatever. Anything goes. We're Roofer Growth Hacks.
Okay. So my personal hack is actually, it's neither a podcast or anything else. It's actually my wife. My wife is the one that actually helped me go through very dark periods of my life. I didn't tell you all my story, but I was almost broke 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And my wife was the one that, supported me and helped me go through when I was in a deep depression. So maybe it's not exactly what, everybody else says, but that's what it is. That's my personal hack. She's always there to support and to listen to my crazy ideas, which come all the time.
I think that's good for everybody. Everybody should have a support system, whether that's your wife, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, whoever, right? Have a support system in place for sure. All right. Question number two. What is your favorite business hack? Again, this is Roofer Growth Hack. So this could be a book, a podcast, whatever, anything goes.
Okay. So that is something that I learned from my marketing mentor when I was in Johnson & Johnson. And I was part of the marketing team that we were trying to forecast future demand. And he said something that I will never forget and actually shaped much of what I do today and the way I think. And it was a simple thing. He says, you can't drive. Actually, let me rephrase that. He says, doing forecasting, looking at past trends is like trying to drive, looking at the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And that actually, I didn't pay attention to him at that time. I said, you're wrong. And many years after that, I lost a lot of money in the market because I was doing that. And I realized that he was actually right. And I should have listened to him. And today, I actually use it in my business, I'm actually going to be doing a webinar very soon talking about the trends and how trends could be your friend or your enemy if you understand them or if you don't understand them. So that was my personal hack. That's my business hack.
Love it. Love it. All right, Claudio, what is the best advice that you've ever been given and bonus points for how you actually applied it?
My best advice is to just be yourself. For many years, I was trying to be somebody else and trying to show the world a different person. And now I realize that the more I speak my mind and the more I am open about what I think, my philosophy in life, which I have a very deep philosophy in life. That's the more I do that, the better results I get.
Love it. All right. Last question. How can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you and encourage you and support you moving forward?
Oh, man, I love to hear from people. I really like to have conversations in person. So my cell phone is always open, which is 954-774-4141. Then, of course, you can use my email, which is claudio.vilas@sunbeltnetwork.com, or you can follow me on LinkedIn or in Facebook. I don't do Instagram too much. If you see things in Instagram, they're not really me. And my website is www.theroofingBizBroker.com.
Awesome.
And I'm just hoping to hear from a lot of people. Even if you don't want to sell the business, I just want to talk about your business.
Awesome. That's awesome. And, we've gone through this whole thing, but you help roofers. You also can help roofers, get it ready to sell, right?
Yes, I do. Actually, that's a big part of what I do. If you're not ready to sell, I help you get to that point. I don't do it personally. I know a lot of people that can help you. So I connect the people with you, and then I keep track of what's going on. And the good thing about that is that if I see your business, as it's growing, I can give you a call and say, hey, you know what? I got a good buyer for you. Even if you're not ready for sale, maybe you want to listen to these guys. And by the way, I talk to a lot of buyers. As a broker, it's not only bringing buyers. Actually, is how to bring the best deal for you. And in order to do that, you need to take a lot of things into account.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Claudio, thank you so much for coming on Roofer Growth Hacks. I know I've got a whole page of notes that I wrote down here. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much. It's great being with you. I hope to see you soon.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know there were some super valuable hacks that Claudio shared with us. I got to say, my favorite one was be ready to sell today. You never know what's going to happen. He said that most people have to sell when they're in distress. So make sure that your company is ready to sell today. If you're not sure how to do that, I'd say get in touch with Claudio to, have him give you some tips on exactly what you should be doing inside of your business. He'll probably connect you with someone that can help with that. But the biggest thing is just be ready to sell today. The other thing that I took away was that the owner shouldn't be the entire business, right? You should be part of the business. You should be the visionary of the business. You should be managing the business, but you shouldn't be all of the business. I talk with roofing company owners day in and day out. I talked with 4 to 5 every single day. And most of y'all, and I say 90% of y'all that I talk with, are basically everything in the entire business. Okay. And so if you can work your way out of being everything for the business and just managing and steering the company in the right direction and making sure that you have the right people in the right seats, I think that obviously, according to Claudio, you're going to be in a way better position in order to sell your business. And again, remember, he said you need to be ready to sell it today because you never know what's going to happen in the future. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you connect with Claudio on all of the social media channels that he sent, as well as reach out to him if you are in the market to sell your business, which according to him, you should be. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or go to our website at roofingsites.com. While you're there, you can listen to other previous episodes with other awesome people inside of the roofing industry. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I'm going to send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free digital copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks and gig 'em.